Trump's ban on an American AI company just hit its deadline, and this month, quietly, it started falling apart. 6 months ago, the President of the United States ordered the federal government to stop using the products of an American artificial intelligence company, and the Pentagon gave the military 6 months to rip that company's technology out of its systems. That 6-month clock ran out in August. Enforcement has begun. And here is the thing nobody expected. It is not working. Defense contractors are being asked to certify something that lawyers are now saying is close to impossible to certify. And at the same time, in a federal courtroom in California, a judge looked at the government's evidence and said out loud that the case had gotten worse, not better. So today I want to show you what is actually happening right now with the most consequential fight between an AI company and a government that has ever taken place, because it is unraveling on two fronts simultaneously, and almost nobody is reporting on it. Stay with me, because the practical problem the contractors have run into is genuinely absurd once you understand it. Let me set the scene quickly, because you need the shape of the conflict before the current mess makes sense. The company is Anthropic, the maker of Claude, and the crucial thing to understand, the thing that surprises most people, is that Anthropic was not some Silicon Valley outfit that refused to work with the American military. It was the Pentagon's own first choice. In July 2025, the Department of Defense awarded contracts of up to $200 million each to 4 AI companies: Anthropic, Google, OpenAI, and Elon Musk's xAI. Anthropic had already been working with the Defense Department since late 2024 through a partnership with Palantir and had a dedicated government product line. For a period, Claude was the only AI model cleared to operate inside the military's most sensitive classified environments. Not one of several, the only one. The dispute began in the autumn of 2025, when the department pushed for unrestricted access to Claude for, in their words, all lawful uses. Anthropic refused to remove 2 long-standing restrictions: no mass surveillance of American citizens, no fully autonomous lethal weapons. That is the entire substance of the disagreement. 2 categories. The Pentagon's position was that a private vendor does not get to tell the United States military how to use a tool it is paid for. Anthropic's position was that these 2 capabilities are different in kind, and that the company had said so publicly since before the contract existed. Negotiations failed. On February 27, 2026, President Trump directed federal agencies to immediately cease all use of Anthropic's technology. The Secretary of Defense moved to designate the company a supply chain risk to national security, a label normally reserved for firms tied to foreign adversaries, barred defense contractors from working with Anthropic, and set a 6-month transition period to remove the technology. That 6-month period is what expired this month, which brings us to now. Here is the first thing that is going wrong, and it is the part I find genuinely remarkable. As enforcement began, agencies within the Defense Department started reaching out to their contractors and asking them to certify that they are not using Anthropic products in the performance of their contracts. On paper, that sounds simple. In practice, it has run into a wall. The problem is that a supply chain risk designation does not just mean stop buying Claude. It means the technology must be absent from your entire supply chain. And modern software supply chains are not clean, linear things. A defense contractor buys software from a vendor, who licenses components from another vendor, who built parts of their stack on open-source libraries, some of which may contain code that originated with, or was produced using, the company in question. As one government contracts lawyer put it, it is extremely difficult for most vendors to certify that they have removed the company from the entirety of their supply chain. His expectation was a flurry of waiver requests. Think about what that means practically. The Pentagon has issued an order that a large share of its own suppliers cannot verifiably obey. Not because they are resisting, but because the modern software stack does not permit that kind of certainty. And the department appears to have seen this coming. Back in March, an internal Pentagon memo signed by the Chief Information Officer told senior leaders that use of Anthropic's tools could continue beyond the phase-out period if deemed critical to national security. In rare and extraordinary circumstances, for mission-critical activities where no viable alternative exists, subject to a risk mitigation plan. So the ban has, effectively, an exemption pathway built into it from the start, which tells you something about how confident the people implementing it were that a clean removal was achievable. And there is a second layer to the practical problem that is worth naming. The people most affected inside the military were not enthusiastic. A former Defense Department official who is now a president of an AI policy nonprofit, himself a former Navy intelligence officer who served in Iraq, said he had spoken with a number of retired officers who told him that warfighters are not happy about it. Their view, as he described it, was that Claude was simply the better product for the work they were doing. Whatever you think about the underlying policy dispute, the operational reality is that the people in the classified environments lost a tool they preferred and had come to rely on. Now the second front, which is the courtroom, and this is where it gets even more interesting, Anthropic did not accept the designation. On March 9th, they filed a civil complaint in Federal District Court in California and a petition for review in the D.C. Circuit Court of Appeals. The legal argument was twofold: that the government violated the First Amendment by retaliating against them for publicly criticizing the government's contracting position, and that the Pentagon failed to follow the procedures laid out in the statute it cited. On March 26th, District Judge Rita Lynn granted a preliminary injunction. Her written ruling was unusually pointed. She wrote that nothing in the governing statute supports what she called the Orwellian notion that an American company may be branded a potential adversary and saboteur of the United States for expressing disagreement with the government. She said the records supported an inference that Anthropic was being punished for criticizing the government's contracting position in the press. She found that the company's due process rights were likely violated because it had no opportunity to respond before the action took effect. And she called the government's actions arbitrary and capricious. The government appealed. On April 8th, the appeals court denied Anthropic's motion for a stay, which undid the lower court's injunction. In May, at oral argument in the D.C. Circuit, a majority of the judges appeared inclined to allow the Pentagon to bar Anthropic from future military work, with judges pressing on the limits of judicial review in national security procurement, and suggesting the Pentagon may have latitude to assess risk in military contexts where failures carry operational consequences. So the appellate picture has been, on balance, favorable to the government. But then, on July 30th, back in Judge Lynn's courtroom in California, both sides asked for summary judgment, and within the first 5 minutes of the hearing, the judge said something striking. She said she did not see additional evidence from the government really justifying what it did, and that if anything, the record had in some ways gotten worse for the government. She added that she saw no evidence that Anthropic could alter the model after it was delivered, or flip some kind of kill switch. That last point matters enormously, because the kill switch concern was central to the original risk designation. The Secretary of Defense later clarified that the supply chain risk concerns stemmed from a loss of trust and pre-deployment risks, rather than from a belief that the company could alter the model in real time after deployment. Anthropic has consistently said it does not have that kind of post-deployment control. So the central technical justification appears to have shifted, and the judge noticed. A decision on summary judgment could land at any time. Meanwhile, a separate case continues in the D.C. Circuit. The legal battle is being fought on multiple fronts simultaneously, with different courts leaning in different directions. Now let me step back because I want to be fair to both sides here. And this is genuinely a case where I think the easy narrative is wrong in both directions. The government's underlying position is not unreasonable, and I want to state it at its strongest. The United States military answers to elected civilian leadership, which answers to voters. That chain of accountability is the foundation of democratic control over armed force. Introduce a private company into that chain, unelected, accountable to a board and investors. And if that company can veto how the armed forces use a tool, a piece of defense policy has quietly relocated from elected officials to corporate management. And this cuts in directions people may not like. If a company can refuse surveillance today, another can refuse to support an operation it disagrees with tomorrow. No serious country wants its defense capability contingent on the political preferences of technology executives. The Pentagon's technology chief put the principle simply. Whatever guardrails or principles the companies want, they have to be consistent with the government's values, mandate, and restrictions. Anthropic's position is also stronger than dismissive coverage suggests. The phrase "all lawful" uses sounds like a neutral standard until you notice that the entity defining lawful is the same entity requesting the access. Mass domestic surveillance has been lawful in many countries at many times, under interpretations later found to be wrong. The logic of drawing a line before a capability exists is that once it exists, the pressure to use it is immense and legal definitions tend to stretch. The company also argued something narrower and quite practical. If the Pentagon does not want to use its technology, it can simply stop contracting with the company, rather than attaching a national security risk label that carries far broader reputational consequences across the entire commercial market. That distinction is, I think, the sharpest point in the whole dispute. There is a real difference between "we are not buying from you" and "we are declaring you a threat to the country." The first is procurement. The second is something closer to a sanction, and it is the part the district court kept returning to. And notice how the rest of the industry behaved when this happened, because it is instructive. Anthropic's competitors did not join them. On the same day the ban came down, OpenAI announced a Pentagon deal for classified networks. Google, OpenAI, and xAI all accepted the all lawful purposes standard that Anthropic had refused. Grok was cleared for classified systems. On May 1st, the Pentagon announced classified AI contracts with 8 technology companies: OpenAI, Google, Microsoft, Amazon Web Services, NVIDIA, SpaceX, Reflection AI, and Oracle. Anthropic was the sole major lab excluded. Notably, though, employees at Google and OpenAI publicly backed Anthropic in the legal fight, even as their employers signed. The split was not between companies so much as between companies and some of the people inside them. So where does that leave us today, in August 2026? The ban is in effect, the removal deadline has passed, enforcement has started, and it is running into a certification problem that may not be fully solvable. Exemption pathways exist, and lawyers expect them to be used heavily. In one federal court, the government's case appears to be weakening. In another, the government appears to be ahead. A ruling could come at any moment and would immediately be appealed by whichever side loses. And underneath all of it sits the question none of this has answered. There is still no law, no treaty, no democratic framework that establishes what artificial intelligence may and may not be used for, in surveillance and in warfare. Some lawmakers have called for Congress to act and set rules for the department's use of AI and autonomous weapons systems. So far, it has not. What we have instead is a company's internal policy on one side, and an administration's demand on the other, being refereed by judges applying procurement statutes written long before any of this existed. A company policy can be reversed by a new chief executive or a board under pressure. An administration's demand can be reversed by an election. Neither is remotely durable enough to carry the weight being placed on it. That is why this matters, even if you will never touch a classified system. The precedent being set here about whether a technology provider can maintain any limit at all once a large enough contract is involved will shape what gets built and what gets refused across this entire industry for the next decade. The safeguards inside the tools you use every day are downstream of exactly this kind of fight. And the honest answer to how it ends is that nobody knows yet, which is precisely why it is worth watching now while it is still being decided rather than reading about it afterwards. That is what this channel is for, not telling you what to conclude, but making sure you know what is actually happening while it is still happening. If that is useful to you, subscribe and hit the bell. We do this every week. And I would like to hear your read in the comments, because I think this genuinely divides people. Is declaring a company a national security risk, a legitimate procurement decision, or is it a punishment for disagreeing? Tell me. I read every single one. See you in the next video.